So I'm currently up in the Highlands of Scotland. It's been over 2 years since I last came up here, 2 years and several months since I came to visit my mum and kind of spend time in Scotland. Before the pandemic, it was kind of something I did every year. So it's really, really lovely to be back. I had a slightly fraught journey here. Everything was fine with my flight up, but I had some train cancellations on the way to the airport. I had to jump in a taxi, which took an hour and a half to get to Gatwick Airport. So that was all a bit stressful, but it's been very nice to get up here where it's just so quiet and so different to London where I live. I'm only on day 2 at the moment. I've done a little bit of walking in the woods. Usually when I come out to visit, my mum and I explore the country and we often go and spend a week in a cottage somewhere in a different part of the country to where she lives. This time we're not doing that. Everything was kind of last minute with this trip. I got my second COVID vaccination a little earlier than expected. So we decided to take advantage of that and just book a trip as soon as possible. All the holiday cottages were kind of booked up. So instead, this time we're staying on the Black Isle where she lives, and we're doing a couple of little outings to different hotels, kind of not too far away, within an hour's drive from where we are. So that allows us to just stay overnight in a couple of different places and explore a bit that way. So I'll be filming that and sharing it with you on the vlog. This is my mum's village down here. Over there is Shannonry Point, where you can often see dolphins in the sea there. Ferns are one of my favourite plants. These ferns are taller than me. There's loads of really enormous ferns around here at this time of year. Found a tyre swing attached to a really gorgeous old big Scots pine. I'm kind of hoping it'll rotate around again so I can show you the tree. It's now my last day in Scotland, so I thought I'd come and sit in the woods and sort of record a bit, talking about what I've been up to over the last 8 or 9 days, and then I can kind of use that as an introduction and then show you some of the footage. I've been incredibly lucky with the weather for this trip. I think we had at least 6 days of just gorgeous sunshine when I arrived. So yeah, the first few days were all taken up with just walking, exploring the area where my mum lives a little bit more. I got some great tips from Julie from Black Isle Yarns, who knows the area well, and gave me some good leads on kind of walks that I could investigate, and I managed to do most of the ones that she mentioned to me, and they've been absolutely brilliant, so huge thank you to Julie for that. Yeah, I've done a lot of woodland walks like this one. I've come back today to one that I did on my first day because it was just so lovely. Lots of woods, hills, coastal walks as well, but I especially love the woodland ones. So the two main kind of adventurous things that my mum and I did on this trip, we took 2 nights away in 2 different hotels in 2 different locations just to kind of explore a little bit. The first trip we did was to Buncrew House Hotel, which is actually just outside Inverness. But it's right on the water. The location is absolutely incredible, and it's an amazing old building, like a pink castle-y building with turrets and things. Really stunning gardens, and it's just right on the edge of the water, so you can sit right there and look at kind of seabirds and things. The most amazing part for me was that we saw an osprey diving for fish as we ate our breakfast, which was just incredible. Had some really good bird sightings on this trip, loads of red kites, which is really, really lovely. On a previous trip, quite a few years back now, they were having a problem with poisonings of red kites. I don't know if it was farmers or what was the likely reason, but yeah, a lot of kites were being poisoned. But on this trip, we've just seen so many. It's been absolutely brilliant. A couple of times one has flown quite low over the car as we've been driving along, which is really amazing. Seen some buzzards. On 2 of my forest walks, I've kind of startled a buzzard out of a tree and managed to get quite a good look at it as it flew off. So on the way back from Buncrew House, we stopped off and did an amazing forest walk. It's called Rila Glen, the place, and the forest there is so mossy. It's just absolutely draped in moss, and it's a brilliant little walk. It's been really nicely designed so that it's not too strenuous, but the woodland is so beautiful. You kind of go up and down and along a little stream, and then right at the end there's a sort of stone folly, so there's these little bits of wall covered in ferns and moss. It's really kind of magical, so absolutely love that. That was also a highlight, I think, for me. So the second hotel trip we did, this time we drove up north to Brora, which is still on the east coast. It's just quite a bit further north, and we stopped on the way at Dornoch, which has an incredible beach. Well, first of all, we had to take a tiny ferry, which is it's kind of fun, but it's quite terrifying to drive on and off of this thing. It's a 2-car ferry and it's absolutely tiny. So we did the ferry, then we drove up, stopped at Dornoch beach and walked on the beach. Unlike where my mum lives, which the beach is all stones, further north and in a lot of parts of Scotland, they have incredible sandy beaches, just golden sand for miles. And it was still, the weather was okay. It wasn't brilliant that day, but it was dry, so we walked quite a way along the beach there. We had hoped to kind of swim, but oh, a little chaffinch over there. I've seen so many birds on this trip. It's been nerding out a bit. So yeah, we hoped to swim, but by that point it was getting a bit cold and windy, and we couldn't really do it, but we walked. Then we stayed in the hotel in Brora, which is a really, really cute little village. There's not very much there, but it's a really pretty village, lovely little houses and gardens, and they had their own amazing beach, which I had a walk on that beach, and at first I thought, well, it's lovely, but it's not as big as, it's not as impressive as Dornoch. And then I sort of rounded a corner and it went on for miles more than I had first thought. So yeah, that night it started to rain quite a lot. Luckily it mostly rained at night, and then on the drive back from there we stopped off at the Falls of Shin, which is a little stretch of river where they have some waterfalls, really quite fast flowing water, and at the right time of year you can see salmon leaping up the falls. They have a little platform where you can watch. Unfortunately we were slightly early to see that. I think they come in late summer and we're in June, so yeah, we didn't see any salmon, but I saw a little dipper that had a nest on the edge of that waterfall jumping into the water. It was quite amazing to see. So yeah, even though the weather's got a bit colder now, I'm really glad I had those hot days. I got quite a sunburn on one of my long walks, which I was not expecting. I wasn't prepared for that amount of sun. Now it's a little chillier, but it's still perfectly pleasant, as you can see. I am feeling nice and relaxed now. I think the stress of that journey that I described with the train cancellations and stuff, and wondering if I was going to make the flight on the way up, that was really stressful, and it took me a few days to unwind, I think, properly. But now that I've been lucky enough to spend some time outdoors with all the birds and the trees and everything, definitely feeling relaxed, and it's been really nice to do this after such a long time without sort of leaving my house in London. One of the things I always notice when I get off the plane up here is how fresh the air is. It's just gorgeous, and especially when you're in a pine forest like this, it just smells so nice, and it's so quiet compared to London, so it's always a really nice change of scene for me to come up here.
Our in-flight magazines are available to view on smartphones or tablets. To do so, you have to download your copy using the QR codes on the seat back in front of you.